Hello everyone, welcome back to the second video I'm recording today with Kieran from Speaking Spurs, talking all things Tottenham Hotspur. So in this video I'm going to give you a little brief outline of that man, Danny Rose, who has left the club. I did promise you a video, so here it is. What we're going to talk about is just the interview that he's had, which I think was quite nice. The club allowed him to do a farewell interview, and hopefully we get to see him again in some capacity. So Danny Rose, we signed as a 17-year-old in 2007. Now, obviously he broke onto the scene in a real good way and he smashed that absolute beauty against Arsenal. Now, when you look at the interview when he was talking, you could see he was holding back tears at times. I urge you all to go watch it if you get a chance. I'm going to give you a brief outline and hopefully that will encourage you to go watch it. They did break the video down into smaller pieces, so there's bits missing, but you can read the full interview on the Tottenham Hotspur website. So yeah, you could see there was emotion in there. There was times where you could hear that his voice was about to crack, his eyes were going to go. He doesn't really look at the camera much at all during this interview, and I think that's purely because of the emotion running through. And for everything he's done at the club, he deserves a decent farewell from the Spurs fans or some sort of respect. So if you can, get onto Danny Rose at Twitter, his Instagram account, flood his account with messages, just, you know, saying thank you and whatnot, because predominantly I have positive memories of Danny Rose, and I think the Spurs documentary made him out to be a bit more of a villain than he actually is, because they can edit stuff out, and that's what TV does. They put villains in there and heroes. So look, this is the outline of it. You know, he's been key for us for the last decade. He's been for us through all our major successes in this modern era. So he helped us become an established team in Europe and Premier League. You know, he helped us in that Champions League campaign under Mauricio Pochettino, where we managed to get to the final. He was there as we started roaring up the table. So look, unfortunately, he's ended up in the development squad to end his career, but he's been there playing with them, training and helping the youngsters develop. And many of the youngsters have actually come out and praised Danny Rose and said, look, the fans don't get to see the side of Danny Rose that they have. And the help he's given them has been second to none. Like, he was released from the club and the following day he still went to the game for the under-23s, and he was seen at the end of the game on the pitch, sort of talking to them, giving the farewell and the thank yous and bits of advice. So I think, you know, in terms of that, he's opened his eyes into what he wants to do after his career ends. I think there will be some form of role in coaching that he might want to go into, which is a massive, massive positive, and I wish him the best in that respect. So yeah, he's been with us for all our successes, Premier League title challenges, which unfortunately we couldn't get over the line, the Champions League, which we again couldn't get over the line. But, you know, he reflected on his 14 years at the club. He feels he leaves the club as a better person, a better professional and a better human being. Obviously for him, he said not the ideal last season to have at Tottenham, because obviously he would have wanted to have gone on, played a lot of games, said goodbye to the fans in the right way. He didn't get that, but he said he feels like he made the most of it with the under-23s. He said they've become part of him and like his little brothers, really. You know, he saw what it meant to the youngsters coming up to the first team. He saw what it meant when they were called up, how happy they were, which, you know, when he was part of the first team, they would have the youngsters come in, and he couldn't appreciate that, because for him that was a long, long time ago. But he said, you know, he saw a different side of it. He said when he joined the club, obviously we were a team that was top 6, top 8. And over that time, he's seen us become a top 4 team. Obviously the last season, you know, we weren't successful. We finished in 7th. Disappointing 6th the season before that. But look, let's be realistic. Danny didn't have too much of a hand in that at all. He was talking about how it's going to be strange for him because he's driven pretty much the same route to training for the whole time he's been at Spurs. And obviously that's not going to happen now. He's going to be at a new club and have to take a different route. And that's where I feel like the interview started to get a bit emotional for him. It was kind of sinking in that, you know, for him, those days are gone now. So I kind of really felt for him. I just wanted to jump in there and just give him a tap on the shoulder saying, do you know what, mate, you've done your bit. Everything's going to be okay. In my eyes, you are a club legend. But he also mentioned that he had a meeting with Daniel Levy. now he's no longer a player at the club. And this is, I mean, for me, this is the side of Daniel Levy we also don't get to see. Obviously, we criticise a lot of his decisions, myself included, and I feel like him and the board have made many cock-ups, but there is a human element to it. And, you know, there is no getting away from the fact that Daniel Levy loves the club. He sat down with Danny. He asked him where he's going. Does he need any help moving forward in the future? He also said he's welcome back at the club anytime and wished him luck. And I feel like they probably do have a fairly decent relationship, as Daniel has with many of the players. I feel like he has good relationships with a lot of the players. He's very much around the club a lot. You see him down at breakfast and stuff. He'll be talking to him as he comes in. So I feel like from that sense, he's quite a human chairman. He's not one of these guys that sits in the background and just makes decisions and that. I know he hides from us and the press a lot, but you know, we're a bit more cutthroat than the players. So he's got a good relationship there. So I was happy to hear and see that. And also, Danny did say there may be an opportunity for him to say goodbye to the fans, which is great. Look, and from me, I think the reason why I was so peed off with the whole Danny Rose situation is the fact that we knew this was going to be the end for him and he didn't get a chance to say goodbye. I mean, the cup final would have been a great way to say goodbye, but unfortunately, according to the club, he was carrying a knock. Ryan Mason said it in his interview. Obviously, he couldn't come back into the Premier League squad. I mean, I feel like it was a mistake to omit him completely from the squad anyway. As we saw, Reguilon has had a pretty hit and miss season. Ben Davies has had his injury problems. So Danny certainly could have done us a job, and his experience definitely would have helped us, especially towards the latter end of the season. But look, when he says there may be an opportunity, I don't know whether that's going to be him like during pre-season maybe say goodbye. Obviously, I think he'll probably be around the club to help himself keep fit whilst he looks for a new club. A lot of clubs do that with old players. They allow them to, or they go to a previous club. But you know, hopefully he sticks around and says goodbye in some capacity. I mean, that could even mean that we're going to see Danny Rose have a testimonial. Obviously, he's been at the club 14 years, certainly been there long enough for one. And if he does, I tell you, I'll be one of the first people to buy a ticket, because in my eyes, I don't care what's gone on in the last couple of seasons, he's always going to be a club legend. Anyone that has been at our club for that long is certainly a club legend and deserves our respect. So hopefully we do get to say goodbye to him on the pitch. If not, if he can just come outside onto the pitch before a game or at half term and have an interview and say his goodbyes, that's the way it's got to be. So he also got to talk about, you know, some of his moments, some of his best games in his memory, and there were a lot there. But obviously the highlights for me was the goal against Arsenal in his debut. You know, you're going to go down in history for that one. He spoke about competition with Ben Davies. He said he wasn't playing too well in the build-up to us buying Ben Davies. There was talk about a new left-back being brought. He got brought in, and he was very nice in the fact that he said, look, Ben Davies is a top professional, and he actually feels like they made each other better players. And I think we were better for it, because they had to work bleeding hard to get in that squad, and I think they did push each other on. And obviously we had Kyle Walker on the other side, and at the time, you know, Danny and Kyle were certainly, in my opinion, the best two wing-backs, full-backs in the Premier League, if not in Europe at that time. I mean, they were marauding. They tore teams apart. What else? You know, he said he was gutted as well that he actually missed the last game at the Lane. So if any of you remember that last game, you know, we went undefeated all season at the Lane. Danny Rose unfortunately picked up an injury, so his last game at the Lane was actually against West Brom. And he said he feels like they took the Lane for granted. Had he known that game against West Brom was going to be his last game, you know, I'm sure he would have given more. But yeah, it's a shame he missed the last game at the Lane. He said if he could go back and swap it all and play one more game there, he would. What else? Yeah, he spoke about that Champions League run when we got to the final, the incredible performance of Lucas Moura that got us there, you know, the disappointment of not winning. But, you know, he's been there through all of our best memories in recent years. You know, he's played a massive part. He's been in and out of the squad. For me, he's been one of my favourite players. I love his passion. I love seeing Danny Rose bursting down the left. The guy had lumps kicked out of him for periods of time. He used to win us so many fouls. There's actually a memory I've got where we're playing against Chelsea, and the shot come in, it was slow, it hit the post and it come back out. Danny Rose flew into that box, smashed the ball in the back of the net, and straight after he smashed the ball, he got wiped out by a Chelsea player. And I mean absolutely wiped out. Like, if that hadn't have gone in, because it was straight after the shot, you'd feel like, you know, there should have been, well, it wouldn't have been a penalty because obviously he made contact with the ball before he was tackled and he missed, but he actually scored. But I actually felt there should have been some sort of card given to the player. That was, at least a yellow card should have been given, but nothing was given. But that was the kind of determination the guy had at times. He just sprinted in there and absolutely smashed it home from not many yards out, took the tackle and just got on with it. The amount of times I've seen this guy get wiped out and not go down, like some of the tackles, his passion, he would just drive through. And at times I was actually screaming at the TV saying, why don't you just go down and stay down, and we could have won a free kick. But the guy won us so many free kicks anyway, in decent positions, through fouls. He must have been one of the most fouled players in the Premier League when he was in his heights. And that's normally something you see of like the quick speedy wingers of, you know, your Theo Walcotts and Aaron Lennon back in the day. They were getting mullered for fun. But look, Danny Rose, goodbye. Thank you for everything you've done. And you never know, we might see him again. If a new manager comes in, they could say, whoa, he's a free agent, he's a good player, we'll bring him back, experience around the dressing room. But look, I feel like we're not going to see him in a Spurs shirt again unless it's for a testimonial, because he's going to want to finish his career on a high. He's going to want regular playing time. Look, he's only 30, so he's still got a few years left where he could certainly do a job in the Premier League, but we shall see. So thanks for sticking around for that one, guys. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like if you enjoyed this video. And for this one, put some comments below to tell me your favourite memories of Danny Rose in a Spurs shirt. I mean, I would love to hear them. It's always nice to hear about what people think and reminisce on some of the longest serving players, club legends. So let me know in the comments below, guys. Stay safe, and as always, come on you Spurs.